I always feel like I should be offended by that disclaimer. Good morning, Santa Clarita. How are you? Welcome in. Welcome in and happy Friday morning. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am Matt Watson, your host. And our show, as you know, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you by SCVi and iLead Schools. We are a network of free public charter schools. We've got campuses on the west side of town, SCVi. We've got a campus on the east side of town, iLead Agua Dulce. We've got several campuses up in Lancaster. We've got a fully accredited online school. We've got an amazing home study program that's just growing in leaps and bounds called iLead Exploration. Tell you what, we've got a school for whatever your child's needs are, transitional kindergarten, from the babies all the way through 12th grade. So check us out at iLeadSchools.org and find the right school for you and your child. Again, iLeadSchools.org. So yeah, we do keep our eye on education here in Santa Clarita and across the nation, but like the show says, we also keep our eye on the Valley as well, bringing you everything that you need to know about what's what here in the Valley. And in the meantime, we work to put a little smile on your face and help you slide into the weekend with a happy heart. Because, you know, if you're not giggling a little bit while you're doing it, you're probably doing the wrong things. We've got a phenomenal show for you today. Producer Sarah put together another great one. In just a moment, we will talk to Cameron Smyth. That's right, that Cameron Smyth. He recently ended his final term on the Santa Clarita City Council after nearly a quarter of a century of service to our community as an elected official, and now he's reflecting on his incredible career serving our city and community, and looking forward to what's next for him as well as our valley. And so yeah, we've also got Kate Wolfe. She's the director of our online school that I was talking about earlier. She's fantastic. She can be talking about what's coming up for this next semester at iLead Online. In fact, they're opening up at the semester turn. It's a lot easier to make that semester move in an online school. So we'll talk to Kate in hour number 2, and then we will wrap up the show like we do, because Mom makes us. We'll bring in my big brother, Big T. He'll have some trivia and some general goofiness. And so, yeah, we'll kind of come unhinged a little bit toward the end of the show, have a little bit of fun. But as I mentioned, my first guest today is former city councilman. It's so weird to say that now. Former city councilman, former mayor, former California assemblyman Cameron Smyth, native to Santa Clarita Valley, born and raised. Smyth attended Hart High School and UC Davis, where he was a star athlete in multiple sports, and received his BA in communications from Davis before beginning his career as a consultant and field representative. He was first elected himself to the city council in 2000, serving until 2006 when he was elected to the California State Assembly, where he served 3 consecutive terms in the assembly before terming out up in Sacramento. Cameron was again elected to city council in 2016 and served in that position until just a couple of weeks ago. He held the post as our mayor 5 different times over his career, including this past year, 2024. He and his wife, Lena, are raising 3 amazingly talented children here in Santa Clarita, and today we are looking back on his political career, but also forward to what lies ahead. Good morning, Cameron. Welcome back to Eye on the Valley. How are you, sir?
You know, there was a lot of formers in that introduction.
Well,
so
yeah.
Where like I said in my comments, my last meeting, I quoted the great 20th century philosopher Ferris Bueller, who said, life moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop and check it out once in a while, you might miss it. So lots of formers in that introduction.
Absolutely, and you've got an entire lifetime of accomplishments and things that you've done, but you're still a very young man. Let me start here, because you and I have known each other for quite a while, and I know that even when you're no longer in office, you still carry the title. So, which do you prefer? Do you prefer Mayor Smyth, Assemblyman Smyth, or Councilman Smyth?
So funny. Assembly member is not a lifetime title.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, only, which is not a surprise, only senator. Senator is a lifetime title in California because, when you're in the assembly, you're in the people's house. And so you don't, you don't need such heirs when you're a part of the people's house like the Senate does.
Okay, so does that mean you're not going to be relocating to Nantucket then?
Right. So I think, Cameron is fine, but if Mr. Mayor is good too. I'm obviously pretty proud of serving my city, and being the mayor of your hometown is something pretty special. So I'm happy with that.
And you should be proud. You've served us well. You've done quite a bit, and you've worked extremely hard, and it's not easy holding public office, even here in this amazing town. So let's start early on. Let's take a little bit of a look back. So you were born and raised right here in Santa Clarita, but you come from a family of public service. First of all, and this one was a new one for me, your grandfather was actually here stomping around back in the 1920s after having served in the First World War, a bit more well-known as your father's service. First as an educator and superintendent of the William S. Hart District, which has got to have been odd with your dad being superintendent while you're starring in almost half a dozen sports there at Hart High School. And then he eventually became city councilman himself shortly after we became a city. So how did that upbringing and your early experiences kind of shape your desire and your ultimate entry into public service?
I look at it, there's, kind of the direct impact and then, an indirect impact. Because, certainly at the time I wasn't an active student in student government or, ASB. I had no interest in any of that, growing up. So, the political side wasn't really, that was more of a indirect impact because I joke that once I joined the council, I was having meetings with people that I had heard my dad speak about at the dinner table when I was in high school.
Okay.
And like home builders and developers that that he was working with as the superintendent.
Sure.
And negotiating with, and then now they're I'm sitting with them, and so there was some of that that you just picked up being involved, but then there was certainly the direct impact and watching my dad interact and how he led, because remember at the time there wasn't even a city
Right.
when I was in high school growing up here. So the Hart District was the largest employer and political body in the area, and so watching him interact, and there were times as there's sometimes the administration and the teachers don't see eye to eye, and there were times when there were teachers that were protesting their contract and protesting my dad, and then I had to sit in that very classroom of those teachers that I was seeing in the on the picket line or in the front page of the Signal at the time, and my dad made it very clear that I am not. These are, you sit in that classroom and you show respect to the teachers. You don't fight my battles. This is part of the life that we grew up in, and it made me very empathetic because we went through plenty of issues with the city with my own kids, and I know. I had empathy for them being the mayor's kid because I was the mayor's kid, and and went through some tough times when my dad was superintendent. So certainly my dad and my first boss Pete Knight were the biggest influences on my my political career, my my leadership styles, things I picked up from them.
Yeah, so you mentioned it was back in the late 90s you started working for Pete Knight, and then ultimately your time on the city council, in the state assembly. So as you're looking back now, have you got any kind of proudest moment, any accomplishment that stands out that you're particularly proud of?
So I think, again, I could talk about specific, projects or legislation, but I think on a macro level, in 2010, I was appointed chair of the Assembly Local Government Committee, and I was the only Republican in the state, the Senate or Assembly, to be chairing a major policy committee, and there were plenty of Democrats that didn't have committee chairs, and the fact that the Speaker chose to appoint me, I felt was really kind of a validation for my governing philosophy of really just trying to do what was best for my district, for the state, my city, and that I didn't care about partisan politics, to any degree, and getting that committee appointment, I think, was a validation of that work, and that if I was going to be gone away from my family, and traveling a ton, at least I was making a difference and having an impact. So I kind of point to that on a global scale. Could certainly speak to a number of projects within the city that we've approved, or a couple of bills that that I passed. But I think, again, that appointment speaks to again, a validation of my governing philosophy.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking of your governing philosophy, we've had Senator Wilk here on the show a couple of times. And, every time he's on, he always refers to something that he says that you told him when he was first elected to the Assembly. I don't know if you remember this, but Senator Wilk remembers it fondly. He says that your advice to him was, when you get to Sacramento, do everything you can to get to yes. Can you explain that a little bit? What does that mean by getting to yes?
So, again, in the legislature, particularly, again, it's different now, but when I was there, there was still a need for bipartisanship. There were, requirements for, 2/3 for the budget or other items. When I was there, we had, for 4 out of the 6 years, we had a Republican governor and Governor Schwarzenegger. And so, there was always, more of a need for bipartisanship and looking for, Republican votes on bills or items, because it looked better if you were sending something to a Republican governor, to have Republican votes, or, if you needed 2/3 for the budget or other items, there was the need. And so I just felt that, I never understood the colleagues that I had that, really just were political ideologues, and they might as well have. I always joke that they could just put a heavy book on the red button and go home, right? Because they just voted no on everything.
Sure.
And and there were plenty, and admittedly there were plenty of Democrats that could have done that and just put it on the green button.
Sure.
And and I just never understood what was the point of that. So. That was the joke was, that Smyth is in play.
All right.
I'm always in play. So Smyth's in play. So, again, it was a philosophy about creating value. And, and when Smyth was in play, it helped me then when I needed, support for, bills that I was looking to get done. And again, I think the only bill that I have hanging in my office is what's called the Surrogate Stalker Act, and that would have never been passed had I had not built relationships and credibility with my Democrat colleagues.
Who'd have thought an elected official thinking logically and sensibly about the bills that they're voting on? Interesting. We're talking this morning to Mayor Cameron Smyth. Nothing former about him. Taking a look back on his illustrious career. Mayor Smyth, every public service role comes with its share of challenges. Can you talk a little bit about maybe a particularly difficult situation that you faced and how you handled that?
So I think. I think we'll probably speak more. We'll speak at greater length a little bit later about the pandemic. So I'll leave that aside. But I think my first real, big boy vote, if you will, when I was on the council, the early 2000s, was we had to make a decision. Well, I'd say two of them. One was the first led to the other, where we had to vote, or we chose to vote to rebid our trash contract.
Uh-huh.
And, at the time, the trash contract was probably our largest city contract. And, it was probably the most contentious vote that I had cast at that point, because there were 300 plus people in the audience, most of whom had supported my campaign. Some had donated, and they all wanted to keep the existing contract with the old Blue Barrel company.
Yeah.
And, the reality was most of them were doing that because they were supported by Blue Barrel, that through their nonprofits were supported by Blue Barrel.
Okay.
And I get that, but it was pretty clear that we were being overcharged. And so I had to, make the decision. It was a 3-2 vote. And, Bob Keller and I were, 2 votes to put the trash contract out to bid. And, that was the first time where I had to look at people who had supported me and basically say, look, you supported me because you thought I would do the right thing. And this is what I believe is the right thing for the city. And it was really ugly. And, it was the first time that my parents got notes about my votes and, kind of how this impacts your family. And but at the end of the day, we found, what I said is, I know there are 300 of you here, but, I represent 200,000 people. At the time, I have to think about all 200,000 people in the city who are paying trash contracts, paying their rates.
Sure.
And, ultimately, we rebid the contract and saved the city. It was like $30 million over the life of the contract, and it was a better deal. And then that led ultimately to the termination of our first city manager. So having to vote to fire the city manager.
Wow.
Again, those are real world, again, that's someone's life and, someone that you've worked with and, to, put them, and the staff was very supportive of the city manager and they were, that meeting was full of city staff that was angry. And so those are a couple that I don't know if, necessarily be proud of, but those were some defining votes early on in my career.
Yeah, certainly not easy. And you mentioned the pandemic. You mentioned folks kind of looping your family into some of the votes that you felt were necessary to make. Kind of dirty pool, and can show the really ugly underbelly of what even local politics can be. So in 2019, you were elected mayor to I believe it was your 4th term, never knowing what was just around the corner. Talk about that year as mayor and dealing with everything with the lockdown and the pandemic and some of the I know you dealt with some very real personal stressors that came hand in hand with being mayor during the pandemic.
Yeah, I'll say, Matt, I'm a person of faith, and I don't think things happen, unintentionally. And so I think I was, meant to be mayor during that time and to have, to put all of the experience that, I have had, in public office and public service, I had to draw on that in 2020. And I think that was meant to be. But I would even go back, a little bit earlier, because in October of 2019, we had the largest evacuation in the city's history because of, I think it was the tick fire that came in, and we had to evacuate. 30,000 residents had to be evacuated. And shortly thereafter, we had the horrific tragedy at Saugus High School. in November. And then, so the city had been, through it, in that 14-month span, I think the city was challenged more than, most others in that period of time. But yeah, certainly the combination of the impacts of the pandemic and then the protests of the summer of 2020 around the George Floyd, protests that, again, really tested the city as a whole, obviously me personally, the council. But, I tell this, kind of an anecdote that sometime during that 2020 period, I got 2 emails within, a pretty short period of time. One was from Richard, a 70-year-old Santa Clarita resident who was, really angry about the over restrictions that he felt that I was placing on the city and residents. And then I received a similar email from 17-year-old Cassidy, who felt that I was being, I was putting people's lives in danger by being not restrictive enough. But so Cassidy and Richard, 2 people who would never agree on anything, they ironically both ended their emails telling me to go F myself.
Oh, God.
So I thought I can really bring people together. Two people that don't agree on anything do think that I should go do some unnatural things to myself.
Wow.
And so I use that as just kind of a funny anecdote because, it does kind of speak to, just how challenging it was for people in general and how that time in society, was really difficult for everybody. And, never underestimate my abilities to bring people together, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've come to expect it from Richard. But Cassidy, come on. Do you kiss your grandmother with that mouth? Jeez. We're talking to Mayor Cameron Smyth this morning. He's reflecting on his over quarter century of a career in politics. And as a community, we're so fortunate to have had him serve. When we get back, he's still a very young man and got plenty left to do. So we'll talk about what lies ahead for the mayor when we get back. I am Matt Watson. This is SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. I am joined this morning by Cameron Smyth, 5-term mayor, 4-term city councilman, 3-term assemblyman, and long-term great guy. Mayor Smyth, so we talked a lot about kind of looking back on your political career, and you've had quite a few, we'll just call them interesting experiences that you've talked about. So you started your political career pretty early. How did your leadership style kind of evolve over the years as you grew, learned, different things changed, shifted?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I was fortunate to have some really good, mentors that I could, see firsthand. Both, obviously my dad was the biggest influence, and then again my first boss, working for a legislator, and just kind of to see how they both interacted with people in their leadership positions, and how that would. Obviously, we're all different, and you have different experiences. My first boss, Pete Knight, was an astronaut, and when you're an astronaut and you're a test pilot and you're in the Guinness Book of World Records, and you take phone calls from Neil Armstrong, and you lead a different way.
Sure,
right? People see you differently. My dad as the boss of a very large organization, you have that leadership style. And then, I was young. And so, you had to, I had a little more to prove, than maybe, the senator or my dad, because of, just from a age perspective, everybody that I that worked for me at the city or whatever were older.
Yeah.
And some like our city manager was probably 30 years older than me, and those are different different styles. So I all the things you pick up on from sports to being the youngest kid in my neighborhood and trying to figure out how to survive my brother and survive your older brother your older brother and the rest of his friends and wanting to still be around, and so a lot of it evolved organically. But I think the one thing that I picked up from all of them was the importance of being authentic. And I go back to my first campaign and I that I lost, and I felt like I wasn't really myself. I was trying to fit a mold that I thought the voters wanted, and I decided to run again, and I was just going to be myself and be more authentic and let the voters decide that way. So I think that's the most important thing that I've learned about leadership is just there needs to be a degree of authenticity, and I think unfortunately people don't expect that from their elected officials in particular, and so I think there's a bit of surprise when people realize that you are just being who you are.
Yeah, well, that's and great advice. So let's talk about that. As you were on your way out of the city council, replacing you was newly elected city council member Patsy Ayala. Did you give her any words of wisdom, or what advice would you give aspiring leaders in local government?
Yeah, I think it is really important. Well, again, for me, the changing moment for me was also once I realized that I can live without being in an elected office, right? Because when you feel like that you're trying to stay in office and you're focused on the political stuff, it's really hard. And so once you get to that point of I'm just going to do what I think is right, and you know what? The voters will decide. And that is a very freeing, if you will, position to get to. So I think Patsy will, again, she's never been in elected office, so everyone has their own learning, their own cadence. And it's a little bit different with her because, she's in a district for, this is I never served in a district within the city. So, it is a little bit different now because her focus is going to be representing District 1 as opposed to the entire city, which was always what I had. Yeah,
and so you alluded to the thought that I can live without being in public office, and now that that notion is very much a definite reality. Now that you're retired from politics, or I don't want to jinx anything at all, but what are your plans for the future as you're looking forward? I'm sure you've spent some time thinking about it. Have you got any personal goals, passions? I know you're really busy at what you refer to as your day job. You're still building your own career. So what are you looking forward to moving forward?
Yeah, it's I've learned. I use this quote often that is man plans and God laughs. Right. And, I had my political career all mapped out. I was going to do the city, the state, move on to a federal role. And, my whole life was going to be in elected office. And, that changed really quickly. And, I certainly never thought I'd be back on the city council, when I left the first time. And so I'm certainly open and haven't closed any doors to a future in elected office, but I also am at a place that if I am always going to be now former, as we kind of joked about, I'm okay with that, and I'm at peace with the career we've led and the life I've had in elected office. So like I said, don't close any doors, but now I've got, I still have, one of my kids is at home, and so I'm gonna be a full, really active dance dad for the next several years till my daughter graduates high school, and just be open to what may or may not come my way. There's a number of offices that'll be open over the next several years, and be something we'll look at. But yeah, at this point, they locked me out of my office at City Hall. I had to move all my find some storage for my plaques and other memories. But I'm open. I've got no plans that I'm focused on at the moment.
There we go. And the presidency's going to be open in 4 years. I'd be glad to walk a precinct for you.
Right.
Are you ready to make an announcement?
Governor, the governorship is up
there you
in
go.
2026. There's a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, we kind of joke, but I think you'd be great at the job. So you've got your vision, and you're open and ready to embrace whatever may come your way. And what a great way to look at this next stage in your life. But what about the future for the city? I'm sure you've got some opinions, some thoughts, and you've laid the groundwork for the next decade or so. What do you see in the future of the city of Santa Clarita?
So, first off, I was comfortable with making the decision to step down this year because of my confidence in the council and our city staff. Okay. I would put the Santa Clarita city staff up against any other city in the country any day of the week. I think we have an amazing group of professionals, many of whom have call Santa Clarita home.
Yep.
There are still staff that worked when my dad was on the council and are still at the city, and so they are committed to this community. And so I feel very confident in their abilities. The concern is that our city's hands are going to continually be tied by the state. I think the biggest threat to all local governments is the state legislature and the state bureaucracy that continually hampers local control. And I'm sure you see that as well in your profession and your elected office as well, that the state continually restricts local control on whether it be education, land use, business development, and so I worry that the city is going to be hampered by the state, and so I always felt like we were kind of in a race to get as much work done in the areas we could before the state took away our control, and I hope that continues with the city, and because I just feel like that's the biggest threat to all local agencies is the state of California.
Yeah, it can definitely be challenging. So finally, Cameron, I'm getting texts from an Eye on the Valley insider telling me that that you actually needed to take the 8 a.m. slot. Our listeners, Mayor Smyth was actually scheduled for the 9 a.m. slot, which would have put him up against the end of the show. But I'm getting texts that are suggesting that you moved to the 8 a.m. slot because you were scared to do trivia with Big T at the end of the show. Any truth to that rumor?
So, look, I learned long ago, you walk away when you're on top.
Okay.
So, I follow the George Costanza model of leaving on a high note.
There we go.
And the fact that I am 1-0 against Big T in trivia in 2024, I think is a record that I should, what else do I have to prove? I'm undefeated.
There you go.
So there's no reason to change that record.
Absolutely. There he is. He'd flip the bat and go out on top. He is the real Cameron Smyth. Mayor Smyth, I want to thank you so much for everything that you've done for our city, for our community. I don't know that I've ever said this to you, but you've always been quite inspiring and somewhat of a mentor to myself. So I want to thank you for that as well. God bless you as you move forward. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, sir.
You too, my friend.
You take care. When we get back, are you a good driver? What about the people around you on the roads? Are they? Well, we'll talk about that when we get back. I am Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead School's Eye on the Valley. Andrew, you drive much? Do you do a whole lot of driving? Do you log a lot of miles on your car?
I do, in and around the valley.
Okay, so similar to me, yeah. So I'm out and about quite a bit. I don't get out of the valley a ton. It's kind of a blessing. You know, I live here in the center of town, work here in town. I do the show right here in town. It's kind of great. I did cruise down to Studio City last night, grab a bite to eat down there. But yeah, most of my driving is here around town. And you know what I've noticed lately? We are not good drivers.
No,
we are not good drivers. I asked the question leading into the break, are you a good driver? And I got to say, based on my experience, at least half of the people that heard that question are not. No offense to anybody personally. I'm just basing this on my own personal experience. I don't know if it's limited here to Santa Clarita because, like I said, I'm not downtown too often. I'm not driving all over the state or anything like that. More maybe it's a global phenomenon, and I'm just experiencing it here locally. But people, they seem to have like forgotten how to drive, and I don't mean just like texting and driving, or you don't know how to negotiate that roundabout. Although that is frustrating when people stop in the middle of that circle and wave you through, or whatever, swerving. It seems that people have like completely forgotten, like literally how to drive, like what the rules are. It's almost like, what's that shiny green thing mean, So this one earlier this week, and almost nearly very, very tragic. Probably a case of distracted driving. I don't know if you saw on social media, there was actually video of a traffic accident on the 5 freeway at Parker Road Monday morning. It barely missed me. I was on my way to work. I get on at Newhall Ranch Road and off at Hasley. It's about a half a mile commute up the freeway for me. But that off-ramp was closed, so I had to kind of continue north a little bit to Parker Road, and of course that was an issue for people. And by the time I got there, the backup on the exit was probably a 20-minute wait, right? So now you've got the right-hand lane of traffic at a dead standstill, and there was a guy in a pickup truck that just blew it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I saw the video, did not notice. So the traffic was at a standstill. It wasn't just, brake checking here and there. It was dead stopped, and he was going, it looked like he was speeding, but he was probably going 55.
Yeah.
But to a parked car, standstill, it's going to cause some damage. And
didn't even brake.
Didn't even brake, went right straight through it.
Right.
And distracted driving, I'm not sure. But, yeah, didn't even notice. Yeah. Dead on right into the back end. Truck
immediately burst into flames. Driver was treated for burns. I'm sure the driver that he hit was probably still in some serious pain and hoping the best for both of them, obviously. But, it's not just that. It's these things that seem small that can end up being incredibly dangerous. Just yesterday, I was out doing some business here in town, took a couple of short drives, one up to the local Starbucks for my morning coffee before I started my day, and then another one over to Mall for lunchtime. I probably put a total of 7 miles on my car, round trip. But several things I noticed that are just like, what are you thinking? That's not a thing. I'm coming out of my neighborhood and I'm turning left to head kind of north on Bouquet Canyon. That's the direction I head to go get my coffee. And so Bouquet Canyon, if you're familiar with it, it's 2 lanes there, and then you've got the bike lane, right? Because we're an active community. And so I'm waiting to turn left, and of course, you get your nose out there, and so now my car is blocking, about half of the bike lane. Anybody on a bike can go, doesn't even have to go around. But there were I ended up blocking about half a dozen cars that were driving in the bike lane into the right-hand turn lane, but with no intention to turn right at all.
Okay.
Just to go through the intersection, continue another block in the bike lane before they ultimately make their right-hand turn. Because who wants to wait in traffic, right? So this guy that is blowing through a right-hand turn lane, right hand must turn right, he's giving me the finger.
I was like, was he on the horn?
He wasn't on the horn, but
okay.
he was giving me the finger as he, swerved into the next lane of traffic to go around me. Another one, so I mentioned, went over to the mall, grabbed a bite to eat, and I'm coming out, and somebody coming into the mall, and it's very important as much, especially this time of year, coming into the mall, folks, you don't stop. You come to that intersection inside the mall parking lot. If you're entering the mall, don't stop. That's not a stop sign. Everybody else has a stop sign, and the sign that you do have, guess what it says? Entering traffic does not stop. Yet the guy's stopping to let me go, and of course what happens? Now there's 9 cars behind him, and it's backing up onto a very busy Valencia Boulevard. Come on, read the sign. When you're going into the mall, don't stop. There's a really big white line in front of those that do stop. And if you don't have that, just keep going, man.
There's also the stop signs.
I can appreciate.
You don't see one, keep going.
Yeah, I can appreciate you being courteous, but you're actually putting people in danger. Don't stop. Another one that really, really, really gets me is, you're driving down you're doing your Christmas shopping, busy traffic, and there's those funny colored vehicles with the lights on top of them that make that really high-pitched sound. Yeah, you're supposed to move over and get out of their way. People don't stop for emergency vehicles anymore. Or if they do, they'll just brake.
And dead stop.
Right. 4 lanes of traffic.
Out of the way.
Right? There's an ambulance coming and everybody just stops. Okay, well now the ambulance behind you has to stop too and has nowhere to go. Or people will move over to the left, right? Because I'm about to turn left, a mile and a half down to the road. I'm going to move over to the left. Well, folks, emergency vehicles are not allowed to pass you on the right. So they may even have to move into oncoming traffic to get around you. You hear a siren? Move over to the right. Come on. You know what else I see all the time? I didn't fortunately see this yesterday, but this stuff drives me insane. When you've got turning left from Valencia Boulevard onto Bouquet Canyon, there's 3 left-hand turn lanes, right? People all the time pick the shortest one. Sure, I can appreciate that. But when you've got somewhere to go after you complete your turn, plan ahead, folks. If you're turning left in a half a block, don't choose the outside turn lane and then fight and honk at people.
That happened this morning to me coming in. Because when you make that left, that outside turn lane is going to be a right-only turn lane.
Yeah.
And they're at the last second, let me turn left. I'm like, I even kind of sped up because I knew that person was going to go to it.
You can almost tell.
When they went behind me, I kind of, chuckled to myself.
And same thing when there's 2 right-hand turn lanes and you're on the inside one. You don't get to just open up and swing out into that second or even third lane. I'm here, bro. I'm here. Come on, folks. Keep your eyes on the road. Learn the rules out there. It's scary on the streets these days. Be careful. Drive safe, because the guy next to you isn't. Stick around. When we get back, the best in free online education, kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. I am Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Yeah, I signed up for those KHTS traffic alerts just because I'm lonely. I sit around at home and just pray for a SIG alert because, you know what? They'll text me. I love it. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. And joining us now is Kate Wolfe. Kate Wolfe has been in education for nearly a quarter century, almost as long as Cameron Smyth has been a politician. She's taught literally every grade level from TK all the way through community college with experience in traditional brick and mortar schools as well as with online and independent study. Kate grew up here in Southern California, attended UCLA. She's a good Bruin. Before beginning her career, she's an incredibly innovative yet kind and patient educational leader who fosters a collaborative leadership environment at her school, making her Well, from what I understand, one of the best bosses you could ever hope to work for. Kate loves horses and spends as much time as she can at the barn with her 4 kids, who also compete in equestrian sports and hunter jumpers. Together with her family, Kate loves to travel, hike, have movie nights, and take out Fridays, as well as take time out for a beach day whenever they can. Kate, welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Of
That
course.
was
Of
nice.
course. Well,
You aged me, but that's okay. All the rest was
sorry, Kate.
fantastic.
She's been in education for a hot minute. Kate, welcome in. Kate, your
Quarter of a
timing.
century.
Yeah, right. It's that century word that makes it hurt. But you know
That's okay. All the other stuff, all of it's great. So,
and I'm a young guy, and you haven't been in education as long as I have, so you're still a whippersnapper. And Kate, you're timing your appearances here on Eye on the Valley perfectly. I'm looking back at our records, and you came in right as first semester started, and now you're back right as we're heading into second semester. But let's talk about your educational journey with us a little bit. You've been part of the iLead family for a little while now. What brought you to work for iLead? And well, let's start there. What brought you away from the brick and mortar and brought you to iLead?
sure. So, as you mentioned, I spent a long time in brick and mortar schools, and I myself went to brick and mortar schools, and I felt like I wanted to be able to be part of a learning environment that met each kid where they were. And iLead does that. We personalize, we customize, we give kids space to have voice and to lead. And I wanted that. I wanted that as a teacher, and I wanted that for my own kids.
You're absolutely
So I
right.
made
Our
the leap.
organization prides itself on providing an educational model that fits the needs of any student. So we talk about brick and mortar. That's your traditional school building, right, where you drop your kids off. And we've got 3 of those, but we've also got a hybrid study program. We've got a vibrant home study program. I know your kids themselves participate in a home study program, but you are the director or the principal of our online school, which is really innovative. I was talking to a friend just the other day about the differences. Well, we'll get into the differences in just a second, but let's talk about the differences in your role. What's it like to be the principal of an online school? You probably don't spend too much time breaking up fights, do you?
That I don't. I'm lucky for that. It has its own unique challenges and its own unique things to celebrate. I would say, hands down, I love being principal of an online school because I feel like I really get to have close relationships. Ironically, you might not expect it.
Right.
Being online, virtual, with our staff and with our kids. And I think that's because I'm not on campus breaking up fights, right? I get to jump into classes virtually at any time and kind of see what kids are doing. I get to help out and make special projects, passion projects for kids when our coaches want a little bit of input. I get to jump in on live virtual advisory times where kids are having career days and doing things like that. So I get all of that personal time with each and every one of our learners and our staff. And I value that so much because it is what I mentioned, right? It's personal learning that I get to kind of see every single day.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it,
I never really thought about that. It does free you up to kind of be in the classroom a lot more, doesn't it?
yeah, 100%.
So now there's got to be some challenges as well. Can you talk about maybe benefits and challenges? What are some of the biggest benefits of an online education, and what are some of the biggest challenges, if you can, both for educators and for students?
Okay. So I would say to start with students, some of the biggest benefits are the flexibility and the personalization. We have kids that come from all different walks of life. We have athletes and actors, kids with learning differences, kids who just want to be able to create their learning experience with us as their educators and their family and themselves in the way that works best for them. And we can provide all of that flexibility and all of that personalization alongside everything that you want or need from a school, right? You want to make sure that you're hitting standards. You want to make sure that your kids are learning, that they can go out into the world and be successful. And because we have a full staff of credentialed teachers, we can provide that. So they get the best of both worlds. I would say that the challenges for learners is that, and it's also a benefit in a way, they have to really learn to grow their own self-advocacy skills. They have to learn time management. They have to know that, communication is huge, right? So they have to be able to answer us when we email or when we text or when we call, and jump into those live sessions and be ready with questions. And I think that as much as that's a challenge for kids, those are such important skills to grow when you think about going out into the world and creating your own success.
Yeah, you're absolutely
as far
right.
As,
go ahead.
Sorry. I forgot about staff. So as far as staff goes, I would say that the benefits are very similar to the learners. We have flexibility. We have room to, for me as a staff member, I love that you can go in and create a passion project with the kid. And that's why I got into education, was to be able to see that light in any child's eyes when they're having fun and something clicks and it speaks to them and they get how it applies in the real world. So to have the room and the space as an educator to do that is huge. You also get the time to build personal relationships with each kid. You're not as worried about classroom management or about everybody in the group all hitting the same target at the same time. So your day is scheduled around connecting with each and every kid to make sure that they're getting what they need. And so you get to develop individual relationships with kids that you might not be able to do when you have a classroom full all at the same time. And then the challenges for our educators in the online environment is that and again, also a strength, we're relationship-based. So it's really all about putting the kids first and trying as hard as you can to connect and make those relationships strong so that those kids want to engage and come and meet you at the table. And sometimes that's really hard to do, especially in a virtual environment. But I would say that our teachers do an incredible job just asking, what do you want? What is your passion? What do you love to do? And starting there and always coming back to that.
Wow. So you mentioned kind of things that come naturally through your model of online education. Building strong personal relationships with your students, being able to individualize the curriculum, custom tailoring it to each individual student, and then actually preparing them authentically for the workforce and for the 21st century. It seems to be... the way you're describing it, Kate, is natural, but that is not the case with most online learning platforms, right? I mentioned I was talking to a friend the other day about another online school that is the absolute antithesis of what you just described, where it's isolation, solitude, same curriculum for everyone. We call it a canned curriculum, and it's not preparing you with those skills for the 21st century. It's preparing you to read, click, and pass or not. So how is iLead Online different from other virtual schools, Kate?
You make an excellent point, and I think sometimes people expect that read, click, be done when they think of online. But we are the absolute opposite of that. While we use the virtual environment as kind of a hub where kids can access their course materials and connect with their teachers, that's just the beginning. They then take all of those projects and those ideas and those learning materials, and they can make them as hands-on and engaging as they want. So they start at the computer, but then they get the opportunity to include their whole world, really.
Yep. Yeah. So So you've built this incredibly authentic experience. You're preparing kids for the workforce, for college, for the 21st century. Let's talk about one of the ways that you do that. I'm talking about your CTE pathways. And for those who might not be educators, CTE is career and technical education pathway. We call it career connected learning. It's basically kind of choosing a major while you're in high school, or getting that career preparation. Can you talk a little bit? You do it much more eloquently than I do, Kate. Can you explain to our listeners what a CTE pathway is, and how they're developed at iLead Online?
Sure. So a CTE pathway is a series of classes that we offer to our high school learners, although we have some introductory classes for our middle schoolers to kind of get them having a taste of what different careers might look like. They are generally 2 to 3 years long, but most of ours are 2-year pathways. And kids begin by dipping into a career that they might be interested in, and then they finish off the second year with a capstone class, which gives them the chance to earn some sort of something, either experience or AP credit or a portfolio that they can then take and help to benefit them as they go into their career potential or into the real world, into their job. So we have a wide range of CTE pathways and classes, everything from arts, media, and entertainment. So you can look at things like visual art and digital illustration and animation. We have theater arts for our actors, journalism. We have video production, and game design is a super popular one where kids learn to create their own games and understand how gaming works and game design works in the real world. They do filmmaking. We have business and finance for our entrepreneurs out there who want to either learn how to run their own business, or who are currently running their own business and get to make a business plan and kind of enact the different and practice the different aspects of running your own business, including finance and marketing and all of that. We have a child development pathway where kids learn about how to educate and how to be supportive of the whole child, including the chance to intern and work with our little iLeaders.
Nice.
We have a health science and medical technology sector. I could go on and on, right? With sports medicine, our athletes love that one. And then a criminal justice pathway as well.
Wow, fantastic. You've got tons of offerings, and so many that could never be offered even at the biggest of what we called brick and mortar high schools. But because you're in an online platform, you can provide so many different options. And I love that you're doing it, giving kids experience with these careers as early as high school, maybe even junior high or middle school. You know, I've got a friend who studied interior design, thought that's the path that she was going. And it wasn't until she almost received her degree that she realized she absolutely hated it. So it's great that kids are getting that experience and kind of exploring what they think they might be interested in. So, Kate, you are, as a matter of fact, I want to congratulate you. I understand that just a few hours ago, last night, your school was reauthorized for another 5 years. So congratulations to you and your staff for that. You are an independent study program, but it's different from homeschool. A lot of your kids are at home doing school, but it's not a homeschool program. You're very familiar with both online learning and home study. Can you explain to our listeners kind of what the difference is, and maybe what the role of the parent is with online learning versus home study?
Of course, and thank you so much. I'm so happy to be able to continue to offer such great opportunities to our kids and support them in the next 5 years, hopefully, with renewal. Yes, so online school is different from home study in a couple of ways. In a typical home study, families usually have instructional funds and the support of a credentialed teacher, and then they can use those to choose their curriculum and collaborate with that teacher. In the online school like ours, we have all of that set up for our families. So everything is in our virtual space, our learning management system, Brightspace. Kids have all of the classes that they need, full with curriculum that's standards-based. And for our high school, UC approved for our college-bound learners. and also for our athletes NCAA approved. And then it's customizable from there. So families have the flexibility and the freedom to know that everything that their kid needs is there, but if they need adjustments, they can work with our teachers to create that. So each class a kid takes comes with a credentialed facilitator or a teacher, along with the support of an academic coach who guides that learner all the way through everything they need, from making sure that they have the right classes, making sure they have the right customization, making sure they're doing okay, social, emotionally, and academically, and collaborating with the individual course instructors to make sure that kids are doing well.
Kate Wolfe is the director of iLead Online Charter School, just renewed and lauded by the Acton Agua Dulce School District for the amazing work they're doing with students. Again, TK through 12th grade, free public charter school, iLead Online. When we get back, we'll talk more with Kate about the incredibly unique and individualized offerings that they provide for every one of their students. She'll also share how you can enroll for second semester, because that's just around the corner. I am Matt Watson. This is SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm joined this morning by the director of iLead Online Charter School, Kate Wolfe. Kate, we just announced that your school just last night was reauthorized for another 5-year term. Charter schools, I'm constantly banging on this drum. Charter schools are free public schools. Kind of the biggest difference is we have the autonomy to do what we know is right by kids. We've got a little bit more flexibility. We're able to serve kids, especially, and this is huge for your charter, Kate, at iLead Online. We're able to serve kids. We're not limited by district boundaries. We're able to serve kids in Los Angeles, Kern, Ventura, San Bernardino, and Orange counties. But one of the other things that we're required to do is we're kind of required every few years to sort of ask permission to continue to stay open. Charter schools get authorized by the local school district. And last night, Acton Agua Dulce School District reviewed your school, analyzed your students' performance data and your finances, and they had the option to, well, not renew you for 2 years, 3 years. They gave you a full 5-year renewal. Congratulations again. Kate, before the break, you were talking about some of the different types of students that attend iLead Online. So for families that might be intrigued and never really thought about online learning for their student, you do it transitional kindergarten. You got the babies through 12th grade. What kind of students does iLead Online tend to attract? What kind of students do best at iLead Online?
That's a great question. And also kind of a trick one, because I would say everybody. And I think that's what some people don't necessarily think of at first, right? That any kid can benefit from an online education because of the flexibility that it provides. I would say that we have a lot of kids that choose to use us because they have passions that they want to make room for in their lives. So we have a lot of athletes, a lot of actors. We also have kids that just prefer this kind of environment, either because they have learning differences or it's just personal preference that they want to be able to have that autonomy and that flexibility in their lives. So we really serve everyone. I would say that kids that are open and families that are open and willing to come to the table and collaborate with us and communicate with us do best in this space, because that allows us to get them what they need.
Okay, so pretty much anybody that's looking for, whether it's the flexibility, the customization, and you're absolutely right about the individualization. Kate, I remember when iLead Online first opened up, one of my students, I was a high school principal at the time, we were only able to offer, well, at the time we were offering Mandarin and Spanish for our foreign language offerings, and one of my kids wanted to take a Japanese class. So he enrolled in iLead Online. He came back, he says, Mr. Watson, I'm getting more attention in this online school than I am at our traditional brick and mortar. I thought it was fascinating. But Kate, many people, a lot of people associate online learning with what we described before as this isolated, very much at home by yourself in your bedroom, don't get to interact with other humans kind of experience. How does iLead Online foster that sense of community and connection among its students?
So we do this in lots of different ways. I would say we do it virtually through the way that our teachers develop relationships with kids so that they feel seen and they feel heard. We do it also virtually through chances for virtual connection for our littles. They have what we call Campfire every day, where they can jump in virtually to a group of their classmates and their teachers and talk and learn and share stories, read stories. They play games together. We actually just had our winter festival where they did everything from make paper snowflakes and show them off to the group to decorate cookies. We also, for our high school kids, have joint advisories and also live time for them all to connect and get information. We had one in this past election where they all learned about voting and the importance of their voice in the community. We had career days where we get people from our communities. We've had media specialists and entertainment. We've had an archaeologist. We've had a scientist who works in the Arctic come in and talk to the kids and answer their questions. We have clubs now that kids are really enjoying, that they got to say what they wanted to see in clubs, and our staff stepped up and moderated, and they jump in at least once a month. And like, for example, we have a music club, and they're making their own playlist that they're going to share with everybody when they're done. We have an acting club, a gaming club. So there's plenty of virtual opportunities for kids to connect in spaces that they feel comfortable in. But we also have in-person meetups that kids join in on. So we've had a pumpkin patch at Underwood Farms, which was super popular. We just recently had a marine biology lab in Long Beach where kids got to come and do squid dissection and enjoy the aquarium. We've had hikes, lots of different opportunities for kids to connect in person. And then also coming up in the spring, we're super excited to hopefully be able to offer the chance to see some performing arts at the Soraya at CSUN.
That is fantastic. So you're kind of really breaking down all those myths of what an online education program might be like. And Kate, when you and the rest of the leadership came up with this idea for iLead Online, I didn't have a hard time envisioning it for high school, and I thought, yeah, maybe even middle school. But what really concerned me, and I know some of our listeners might be concerned as well, is the lower grades, right? The elementary grades, especially kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like? Because I'm sure when families think putting my second grader in an online school, well, that deprives them of the school experience. I don't want my kid on a computer screen all day long. But you all take that into account and really work around that. Can you explain what it's like for some of the littles at iLead Online?
Sure. So the littles, we believe in educating the whole child first and foremost. And that includes their social emotional needs, their academic needs, all of it. And so for our littles, they have so many different opportunities for hands-on learning. As I mentioned before, everything is in that hub space, that learning management system where you, as a parent, get to see all of their projects and assignments. And then from there, you get to decide with your learner, your student, how deep you want to go in creating that hands-on project-based experience. So, for example, if you have a learner in math and they're learning how to graph and it's just not connecting on the computer screen, you can go outside with some sidewalk chalk and some rocks and flowers and create a giant graph and make designs that way, and then take pictures with your iPad and click them directly into Brightspace for our teacher to grade for you. We have kids building things out of Legos. We have kids creating gardens. They have a whole seed to table project where they go to the farmer's market and they learn how they get food. And how important community is to that process. So there's so many opportunities for those littles to really learn with their whole bodies, with their hands, with their hearts, with their minds. And then they also get daily opportunities to connect and share those things and bring them all in to that virtual environment where they talk with their peers and their teachers and they get celebrated with that. We just, in fact, had our kindergarten virtual gala just, I think this week, a few days ago, where they all showed off all of their favorite things that they were doing and learning, and it was so much fun.
Oh, that is so cool. Gosh, it really is a connected, personable experience. And no, even though it's an online school, your kids are not online, on screen, all day, every day. We're talking with Kate Wolfe, the director of iLead Online, free public charter school, transitional kindergarten, all the way through 12th grade. Kate, you've hit on each one of these things, but I kind of want to bring it together. So for families that may just be joining us, let's talk about kind of those three keys to your school, iLead Online. We've got three kind of pillars that hold up everything that we do at iLead. We individualize learning, we focus on project-based learning, and social emotional learning. Can you help our listeners understand how iLead Online is able to do all three of those things through an online format? Again, individualized learning, project-based learning, social emotional learning. How do you do that at iLead Online?
So I would say that it actually is easier and more authentic to do it at iLead Online because the virtual space and the way we communicate allows us to connect with each and every kid individually, which immediately hits on that individualized learning piece, right?
Yep.
Our coaches, who I mentioned, each coach has a roster of kids. They connect with every one of their kids personally to talk about what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what they need and what they want. Because we're in that online space, they have to do that in order to make sure that kids are engaged. And they're not as focused on just the group with classroom management and things like that. So it really is part of the fabric and the foundation of what we do. Everything starts with the individual, and all the kids should be able to learn in a way that speaks to them. For project-based learning, that also kind of comes directly out of the individualized part, right? Because when we're asking kids what their passions are and what their interests are, then we get to build projects around that hit all the standards and yet let kids really truly engage. And I think that that's the funnest part of it. Right? When you get a kid that might be like, yeah, I'm not really interested in biology or whatever it may be. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, what are you interested in? And then as a teacher, I get to build biology into their interests, which is super cool. And then as far as social emotional learning goes, we also build that into our framework because project-based learning involves a connection to and an understanding of community and each other. We naturally build in that social emotional learning into their curriculum. And we also emphasize it when they are meeting together in advisory or in campfire, how to connect with one another and with their coaches when we do our meetups. So it all kind of connects and weaves in and amongst each other, those three things, to make what we do, I think, brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Kate, because of the nature of my job with iLead, I get phone calls quite a bit for families looking for something else. I got a phone call a few months back from a family whose daughter was in 7th grade and just really having a negative experience at the local public school that she was attending. She had to get out. She had to get out by Monday. Fortunately, your team was able to accommodate her. She got enrolled, got a text back from mom just a couple weeks ago and said, Matt, iLead Online has absolutely saved our lives, saved our family. She's doing great. She's flourishing. She's happy. She's getting good grades. So for families that are ready to take that step, ready to make the transition into iLead Online, what advice would you give to either students or parents who are considering enrolling in iLead Online?
reach out to us. We're here. We're ready to support you and to answer all of your questions. So you can go to iLeadOnline.org, and there's a button right on that homepage that says Enroll Now. And you can start that way, and our enrollment specialist will reach out to you and answer questions. You're not locked in even if you click on that. Or you can also go to iLeadOnline.org and click on Contact and contact us that way. So we are here to help guide you in the process, whether it's a great fit or not. I think the first step is just to communicate. We're here. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that while you were at Acton Agua Dulce School District last night, hearing that your school has been reauthorized for the maximum 5-year term, again, congratulations. There was a part of your team that was hosting an online informational session. This is something that your team has really just knocked it out of the park with. Y'all provide online information sessions. It's kind of like an open house for prospective families twice a month. You've got, I'm looking at your website here. If families go to iLeadOnline.org, they've got 3 different buttons in that upper right-hand corner, and I love this. You can click on the enroll button. All right, Matt, I heard Kate. I'm convinced. I'm in. Click on enroll, fill out the application. Folks can get in. You've got a now hiring button. If people say, yeah, that's the job for me, I want to teach at iLead Online, you can do that. But then you've also got a third button that says info sessions. And Kate, I see you've got 2 more already planned for January. You've got information sessions Thursday night, January 16th, Thursday, January 30th, both at 6 p.m. And again, because it's an online school, the open house, the tour of the school, as it were, takes place online. And so families do it from the dinner table. They do it from the living room. They do it, well, you've seen it. Just about a month or so ago, there was a mom that was touring your school, attending the virtual information session while she was sitting in the parking lot, and her kid was at soccer practice. So let me ask, you're offering these virtual tours. Folks can enroll at iLeadOnline.org. Do you have spots open for second semester? If people are saying, yep, first semester's over, second semester, we're moving to iLead Online. Do you have spots open?
Yes, we absolutely do. And thank you, Matt, for reminding me of our virtual sessions. They're huge, and we get lots of families who come in and get all the information that they need or want questions answered. We absolutely have spots open, and families are welcome to sign up for a virtual session in January, or if they want to get more information sooner than that, our office staff is still working over break, and you're welcome to reach out to us.
Great point. I don't want an information session. I want to start in January. Reach out, contact iLead Online at iLeadOnline.org. That's iLeadOnline.org. Kate Wolfe, director at iLead Online, free public charter school. We got kindergarten, we've got elementary school, middle school, high school with amazing offerings. Check them out at iLeadOnline.org. Check out their course schedule, their course catalog. It's going to blow your mind. One more time, iLeadOnline.org. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on your 5-year renewal. Enjoy the holiday break, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you so much for having me. You as well.
It's always my pleasure. I'm Matt Watson. This is SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. We got fun, we got goofiness, we got trivia coming up on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and I'm joined in studio this morning by Rich Sherman. He is the host of the show that actually follows ours, The Real Estate Fix. Does a great show, and he's got all of the insights and advice that you need for the real estate market here in Santa Clarita. But Rich, it's not about you. It's about my big brother. Because,
Yes.
you know, Mom makes me share my show with my stupid big brother, Big T. He is an executive and philanthropist. He's an amazing father, husband, and dog dad. And, you know, when he was in high school, his high school guidance counselor gave him a personality test, and he failed. Here he is. He's Mom's favorite, Big T. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matty. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Big T, I don't know if you were listening to the show. Earlier, we had Mayor Smyth on, and he couldn't stick around. But any thoughts on Cameron Smyth's appearance? He took a swipe at Big Brothers this morning.
He did take a swipe at Big Brothers, and he dodged trivia. He's a little scared, but Rich is ready to step in and take you down, Frogger.
Hey, Rich ain't a scared. He's here for it.
I'm ready. I'm
All
ready.
right. Speaking of a scared, Big T, we were getting a scared of Papa's pick of the week. He's fancies himself a college football expert, but his record was pretty abysmal this year. So he took last week off, but we're heading into the college football playoffs. Did Papa have a pick for this week?
I texted him this morning to send me a pick, and I didn't get it. Hold on. Hey, Papa, if you're there, can you shout out your pick for us right now? Okay, got it. Papa's going to take Penn State and lay the 8.5.
Okay. All right. Penn State's got a pretty smooth path to the championship this year. But we're not here about college football. We are here about trivia. Rich, so let me tell you the rules. Tony's got trivia questions. If you know the answer, don't just shout out the answer. You got to hit your buzzer first.
I'm aware. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm a fan. I've listened. I know. I know. I'm hip to the rules.
All right. So the buzzer is to shout out your name. Engineer Andrew's going to play.
Cool.
But no
ready.
sandbagging. He's a smart guy.
Oh, very.
And, you at home, you can play along as well, and you get an advantage. You don't have to call out your name. You just shout out the answer and see if you could beat us. But I don't know. We're pretty good at this, and Rich is talking the cocky talk. He thinks he can take us. So I'll keep score, and we'll do this. Big T, what have you got for us?
I'm going to start with a little bit of a fun fact, Frogger. You know, you open the show every single week with a sip of your coffee, and I know you love your coffee.
Baby.
Did
And
you know
coffee
back
loves
in
me.
2012, it does love you. In 2012, in Korea, there was a marketing campaign that went on. Dunkin' Donuts ran radio ads on buses, and every time their jingle played, it sprayed the aroma of coffee in the bus. Sales of Dunkin' Donuts coffee near bus stops that year grew by 29%.
I bet, but that's got to be an expensive campaign, running smell-o-vision in the local buses.
Well, yes, when will they have the home version?
Absolutely. Hey, so Frogger, last week we did Name the Occupation, and that went over so glowingly well. This week we're going to kick it off with trivia. Do you need to go through rules, or are we good?
No, we did the rules. We're going to hit our buzzer. People playing at home don't need to hit the buzzer. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm going to name characters from either a movie or a TV show,
All right.
and you tell me what movie or TV show that was.
I like it.
All right? Frank Drebin and Nordberg.
Frogger. Andrew got the
Frogger.
drop on me. Andrew,
Okay.
Okay.
Naked Gun.
That's correct.
from the Files
Tony
of Police
Montana.
Squad.
Yeah.
Say again?
Tony Montana.
Frogger.
Tony Montana. Frogger.
That was Scarface.
That was Scarface.
Our
Neo?
HR guy sent me his impression of Tony Montana just last night.
Neo, Agent Smith,
Andrew.
Morpheus.
Oh.
Andrew,
The Matrix.
The Matrix is correct.
Engineer Andrew battling a
George?
cold this morning.
Yep. George Bailey,
Frogger.
Frogger.
That would be It's a Wonderful Life.
That is correct. Can you check Rich, see if his mic's on?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
All right. I didn't know if you left the studio.
No, I'm here. It's just it's easier in the car than it is in the studio.
It's about speed and accuracy. Yeah.
What city was It's a Wonderful Life set in?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Bedford Falls.
Bedford Falls is correct. Character, Vito Corleone.
Rich, the Godfather.
Yeah, boom.
Rich, Godfather's correct.
I'm on the board.
He's on the board.
Kaiser Sose.
Rich, the Usual Suspects.
The Usual Suspects.
And you can't
Great
say it
movie
like
if
that.
haven't seen it.
You can't say it like that. You got to go Kaiser Sose.
Please, Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, it's just Kaiser Sose. Nobody's afraid of that.
Right. Atticus Finch.
Frogger.
Oh,
Frogger.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
yeah, great.
To Kill a Mockingbird is correct. Rick Blaine and Victor Laszlo.
Rich, Casablanca.
Ah,
Cas-
nice.
Casablanca's correct.
Yeah, my
Nice
wife would
pull.
have killed me if I'd lost that one. Go ahead.
Making a comeback.
What city did Rick and Ilsa first meet and fall in love?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Paris.
Paris.
Always at Paris.
She wore blue and the Germans wore gray, right?
Right.
Perfect. Ron Burgundy.
Rich,
Andrew.
Anchorman.
Anchorman is correct. What city was Anchorman set in?
Frogger.
Frogger.
San Diego.
Stay classy, San Diego.
It's German for what? I don't remember.
Jack Sparrow.
Frogger.
Frogger.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Correct. Marty McFly.
Andrew. Back to the Future.
Andrew. Back to the Future, yes.
Good on your
Tyler
buzzer.
Durden.
Andrew. Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Don't talk about Fight Club.
John McClane.
Frogger.
John McClane and Hans Gruber.
Rich.
Frogger.
That is Die Hard.
Not
Die Hard's
a
correct.
Christmas movie.
Yes, it is.
Stifler.
Rich. Oh, I can't remember the name of the movie now. Oh, I bagged this one. I can't remember the name of the movie. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry, step on.
American Pie.
Ah, shit.
American Pie is correct.
Remember the whole film. Can't
Ghost
remember the
State.
name.
Oh, Andrew.
Andrew.
Scream.
Scream is correct. All right. What letter is not included in any of the 50 United States?
Frogger.
Frogger.
X. No, Texas.
X is incorrect. It's in
Son
Texas.
of a motherless goat.
Andrew. Z.
Z is incorrect.
I'll take a swing at it. Rich. Q.
Oh, good pull.
Q is correct. Nice pull, Rich.
Way to
There you
go.
In the game of chess, which piece is the one that can move diagonally only?
Frogger.
Frogger.
That would be the bishop.
The bishop is correct. In what state is Area 51 located?
Frogger.
Andrew.
Frogger.
Nevada.
Nevada's correct.
Andrew and I are going to Naruto run over there this weekend.
What's the hardest substance in the human body?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Ooh. The teeth.
We'll give it to you. It's enamel.
Okay.
Eh.
Yeah, Andrew doesn't want to give it to me.
In French, what does the phrase cul-de-sac literally mean?
We can't say it on the air.
Rich. Is it Rich? Is it turn around?
Incorrect.
That'd be
Nothing.
funny though.
Frogger.
Anybody? Frogger.
End of road.
We're not going to give you that one. It literally means dead end.
Oh, okay.
I like turn around better.
What organ in the human body can regrow itself?
Oh, Frogger.
Frogger.
The liver.
The liver is correct.
I challenge mine to do this every Sunday.
Every day, yep. What do pandas primarily eat?
Andrew.
Rich.
Bamboo.
Andrew?
Bamboo.
I think I heard bamboo.
Bamboo.
Yep.
Bamboo.
Yep. What's the only mammal that can't jump?
Frogger.
Frogger.
No, that's my answer. Frogger. I don't know.
Anybody?
Rich, I'll take a guess at it. I'm going to say the platypus, although I've never seen one jump.
Incorrect.
Mm,
Andrew?
Nothing.
Frogger, anything?
nope.
It's an elephant.
Oh, that makes sense. I was almost going
Maybe
to go
not
back to the
very
panda
high.
there. Yeah.
What space telescope became notorious for its
Frogger.
technical issues?
Yeah.
Frogger.
The Hubble.
The Hubble is correct.
We got time for one more, Big T.
All righty. Acronym. What does AWOL stand for?
Frogger.
AWOL. Frogger.
Absent without leave.
Correct.
And we're going to be on the wall for the next couple of weeks, but we've got some reruns coming. We've got to go, Big T. Thanks for swinging by. Rich Sherman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for including me. It was great.
Absolutely. And
Nice job, Rich.
Thank you, guys.
great showing. Stick around for the real estate fix with Rich Sherman. We want to thank our guests, Mayor Cameron Smyth, Kate Wolfe, Director of iLead Online Public Charter School, Engineer Andrew, Producer Sarah, and thank you for listening. Happy holidays, everybody. And hey, drive safe because the guy next to you isn't. Remember, friends, life is hard, but we're all here to help each other along. Be well, do good. Join us again next week and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm Matt Watson, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.